Okay, you've written out your natural minor scales. As you were writing out those natural minor scales using the whole half, whole half, whole pattern, you may have noticed that those minor scales share key signatures with major scales. For instance, A minor didn't have any sharps or flats. C major also, no sharps or flats. Okay. E minor had one sharp at F sharp. That shares a key signature with G major, which has the same sharp, etc. as you went down the line. I want to see if we could talk about the relationship between those two keys and see if we can notice a pattern and come up with a formula to be able to figure this out on the fly. So if we analyze A minor and C major and how they're related, I like to look at the intervals between them. So I like to look at the interval between A and C. Okay. A, if we go a whole step up, that's B, and then a half step up, we have C. So a step and a half, also known as a minor third, but let's call it a step and a half. You could call it 3 half steps. I like to think a step and a half, and you'll find out why later. So I think a step and a half, if I go a step and a half from the root of the minor, so A, a step up to B, and then a half step to C. That's how I can find what's called the relative major. So these are relatives of one another because they share a key signature. Kind of like sharing a last name with your relative. Okay? Let's try that formula from E. Tough to see with the glare. This is E, and this is G. So E minor and G major. If we go a whole step up from E, we have F sharp. If we go a half step, we get to G major. So E minor and G major share the same key signature, and they are a step and a half apart. Okay? Let's check it out with B minor and D major. So the note B and the note D are a step and a half apart. Let's test that out. B, whole step to C sharp, half step to D. Okay? And then, so B and D share the same key signature. They are relatives of one another, and they are a step and a half apart. Let's go to F sharp minor. I have F sharp and I have A major. F sharp, a whole step from F sharp. Think to yourself what it is. If you go a half to G and then another half to G sharp, that's a whole step. So F sharp, G sharp, now a half step to A. So F sharp, whole step to G sharp, half step to A. So there's our step and a half. So these two are related, okay? They are a step and a half apart from one another, and they share the same key signature. They are related because they share the same key signature. Like I said before, like sharing a last name with a relative of yours. Okay, so the reverse is true also. If we have a major and we want to find the relative minor of that major key, we go back a step and a half. So if I'm on C, I'm going to go back a half step to B and then a whole step to A. Okay, that's how I find the relative minor. So if I have a major key that's G major, and I want to find the relative minor key of G major, I go back a half step to F sharp, and then a whole step to E, and I know that my relative minor is E minor. You try it with D. See if you can do it in your head. If you need to use a piece of paper, you can. Okay, so think going back a half first, and then back a whole. And that'll give you the relative minor, or the minor key that shares the key signature with major. Okay, so you should have thought D, back to C sharp, and then a whole step to B. So D, back a half step to C sharp, and then a whole step to B. Let's try it with F sharp and A. So if I'm thinking of A major, I'm trying to find the relative minor. Pretend this isn't here. Okay, so you should be thinking back a half, and then back a whole. So back a half from A to G sharp, and then a whole to F sharp minor. Okay, so that's how you'd find, so to recap, let's do this again. To find the relative major from a minor key, so if I'm given a minor key and I'm trying to find the relative major, I would go up, forward through the alphabet a step and a half. Okay? If I'm trying to find the relative minor key, if I'm given a major key and I'm trying to find the relative minor key, I go back a half and then a whole. Just go back a step and a half. Okay? All right, so why would this be important? The reason that I think it's important is because I don't like memorizing a lot of stuff. So I look for shortcuts to figure things out right away. This way I don't have to memorize every minor key signature. I already know the major ones. We've gone through that in class. We've worked on that. We figured out shortcuts for sharps, figured out shortcuts for flats. So now that I know that, then I just add one step, well, one step and a half, and then I can find that minor key signature. So, for instance, if I'm playing a song that's in the key of B minor, and I need to know the key signature for that, then all I have to do is go up a step and a half to D major, and I know how to find the key signature for D major if I don't have it memorized already. Go back to number 7, which is C sharp, fat cats, F and C sharp. Okay? There are other reasons that we're going to get to also that'll help you a ton. But this is a great little trick. Well, I'll just say one. For guitar players, being able to play your major patterns in a minor key and your minor patterns in a major key opens up the whole neck pattern-wise. So now you can play mini scales all over the neck. Now you pretty much got the neck covered, and I can show you that in another video also. For piano, sometimes it's really cool to think about the relative minor key when you're playing in major. And we'll talk about that in another video also. Okay.